Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Colin Bird, Executive Chairman of Xtract Resources. Hi Colin, how's tricks?
Good, thank you. Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Good.
Considering.
Yeah, considering the markets and the current times we're in, it's a very interesting times. Let's just call it that without being too negative. So, obviously, since we last talked, there was the Bushranger project, the results of the scoping metallurgical test work program. Do you want to just talk us through those findings?
Yeah, well, let's stop and see where we're at. I'm pleased to say, phase 2, we have all the results in now from phase 2. And phase 2 was a mammoth program for a junior mining company. And we've completed a stack of work in short time. I don't think the majors would have done what we've done in that particular time. And it's over to good management over in Australia. It's over to an outstanding drilling team, good performance and good liaison all round. So, we've ended drilling the best part of 35,000 meters of drilling. We've conducted major geophysical surveys. We've completed the met test work, and we're now cranking up I think that's the term, the geology issue, so I'll use the same one, cranking up the model for the resource statement. Got a good idea what it will say, and we're made the decision to model racecourse to its finality and put it in for conceptual study, more than conceptual study this time, of course, because as I've just said, the underlying information we've got makes it a much more accurate study, better foundation study than the ones we did at the end of phase 1. But let's go back now and reiterate just a little bit. The new geophysics, what did that achieve? Well, certainly told us we're in the right place. What it has done is opened up and identified, the wrong word isn't opened up, has identified 2 new big areas. It's identified significantly that there could be a fault up in the north, possibly northeast, and we start again. Racecourse starts again. So that's very encouraging. The met test work, no shocks, no surprises. Pretty typical for the district. You might say, why did you do that? Because you can't put any credence on a study where you haven't done test work on the material that you intend to work. So, like it or not, we really had to do it. We've had a resource model since May, but obviously as the results come in, one reworks it. And then we drilled a few holes because the resource model showed us that there were actually gaps where we were relying too much on one or more boreholes, hanging too much tons and too much grade on. So we had to fill in a couple of gaps, and that's what's taken us the extra couple of months, because we decided in May, and the resource statement as the reliability veracity in the southwest was not an high enough standard in an important area. No, the word's not standard, of an high enough the borehole density and the cretin and the variogram, quite frankly, was suspect, and one had to fill in what was a very large gap, and that we did with some more boreholes. So that pushed us out a bit in time, but I think we've lost about 2 months. So where are we? We've whilst all that's being done, and it's being done this minute, they're on with it. We've decided that racecourse is much bigger than we ever expected to be. It is better to, in actual fact, model racecourse and get to that decision to mine. We know, or we think we know, the model will tell us when we've done it, that we've got some indicated resources as well, which will be very good for racecourse. And so we've got all the parameters there. We'll commence our modelling, and I expect a result in the not too distant future. So on that basis, we decided not to go chasing those huge targets. We know. The market will know. More important, I think, this time is the trade will know that probably our area of the Lachlan Fold is probably the biggest, next to Cadia Ridge, I guess, next to Cadia Ridge, because Cadia Ridge has already proved itself, but it's massive. And this geophysics, we've got the signature, we've got the background, we've got the history. So, any new geophysics basically is much more reliable than it might have been on virgin ground, which had never been tested, and mines hadn't existed before, and we really didn't know what the signature meant. For example, with our geophysics, you don't drill the bullseye. It's on the periphery of the bullseye. You're looking for, and then we did the magnetic susceptibility with the drone. That assisted us a lot too. So we in actual fact know that we have to be on the margins to get the ore, to identify the porphyry. So phase 2 finished. I don't think the shareholders would give me a pat on the back if we said we were going to do a phase 3 and go and test those great big anomalies. They're there as in our sweetie bag in our box. There is very good targets, much the same, possibly different, in gold. Who knows? Probably more copper than gold, more gold than copper. Who knows? But we feel that to test those is prolonging the issue. Racecourse stands alone. We're pretty sure of that. And we're going to do we're going to get on with the modeling.
Yeah.
So, summarize, done every bit of test work necessary for the conceptual study to be done. The conceptual study, remember, we're not starting at ground zero. We, in actual fact, have got a conceptual study. What we're doing now is we've got figures of what we can rely on. We've generated an ore resource. We've generated metallurgical test work. We've generated all of the information required for them to do the study. So that's what we're busy doing now. And I know it's Kevin and Phil. You want to beat me up for no news, but the reality is that this, quite frankly, now, whichever way you look at the Bushranger project, is number crunching.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't say a lot while you're number crunching because you've got to crunch the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, would it be safe to say that as the more test work goes on and the more proving up you're doing, that you're confident that you've got a world-class porphyry on your hands here in Bushranger?
Oh yeah, I think that goes without doubt. Yeah, I think we knew that. Well, we certainly didn't know it at the end of phase 1, but the more we go along, getting extend. I think when Racecourse grew and grew and grew, we got very confident with that as a subject. But also when we got to understand the geophysics, and the last round of geophysics produced even more potential, either disconnect by way of a fault or all new anomalies, we knew then that this system was very, very big. And I think it's one of the biggest it probably, as I say, it's competing there at the top in the Lackland fold. So yes, it's certainly world class. And the Racecourse mine is a very good starter. And it's got the benefit because instead of being a steeply dipping porphyry, it's an inclined porphyry. And a lot of the ground is less than 600 meters. So we can make a huge pit with an high-grade component for the first few years. So we're looking forward to what the model tells us. No doubts about it. It's been very successful. It's been fraught to have to drill 35,000 meters as a junior. Just something that you don't hear of very often. But we've done it. We've done it, guys. We now got to model the outcome and get on with taking Racecourse up a notch to satisfy, as the terms of that exit of would-be buyer, should they would choose to get involved with Racecourse, or alternatively open up the project to the global market. When I say the project, I'm talking Bushranger, not Racecourse. We open up the entire all of the licenses. So we're in a very good position, and it's important that for our shareholders, I think it's extremely important for management that we identify that, we basically got to the crossroads. Do we do more drilling in those big anomalies? And of course, we'll get to the 2 million. Or do we in actual fact say, well, Racecourse is big enough. It's certainly big resource. We're probably talking about 20 million tons for 25 years or 25 million tons for 20 years. That's a big mine by anybody's standards. Talking about acceptable stripping ratio and all that good stuff. So yes, we are where we are. We're at the right junction. We've got a world-class situation, and we're taking strategic and tactical decisions by taking Racecourse forward.
So you expect that you will then make a decision to mine, and that will then facilitate the process?
That basically will facilitate the process. Once we made the decision to mine, that's exactly what we'll do. I mean, let's face it. I mean, everybody's got their hands in. We started off this discussion by the world state. I mean, you may think I'm suffering from a pretty serious hangover, but I'm as confident on the copper price next year than I've been for the last 3 years. I keep going on and on about the copper price. Only on Bloomberg the other night, Freeport announced that they're selling every scrap of copper they can produce. London Metal Inventories, London Metal Exchange copper inventories, have a look at those. China's trying to keep this this copper price down, and they're not being that successful. At 7.6, look back 10 years and see where 7.6 sits in the grand scheme of things. So they're not going to keep the price down. We're quite happy with this situation. We're quite happy with copper all across our portfolios, what we're doing here, there, and everywhere. So it's upwards and onwards.
Good. So tell us a little bit about all this gold that's pouring into Xtract at the minute. You know, we have a 28 million pound market capitalization, and it seems like there's literally millions of pounds worth of gold pouring into it over the next 12 months. So tell us what that's all about.
Well, where we sit now, and Fairbride, as everyone knows, has started up. We didn't make a big song and dance about it starting up because I know there was a level of disappointment in our shareholders, and of course with us as well, and everybody concerned. And in the time, I'm not going into a great dissertation about COVID and the problems and border posts being closed and all that. The fact is, it was late, and I apologise sincerely for that. But it's going, and it started up 6 weeks ago, and it's producing gold. But remember, you know, we're in that period now where we're working the alluvials and the weathered material. We get a gold pour about every 12 days, which is good. We're learning how to, you know, much bigger volumes, of course, than we do in the alluvials. So the actual business of pouring gold is quite a business. The lockup will continue for a few weeks yet, I think, because gold has got a way of finding every nook and cranny and locking itself up in the circuit as when you start these process plants. And there's quite a nugget effect in our ore body. So, you know, the big pieces will certainly lock themselves up in the ball mill and other places. So, but we're pouring gold now on a regular basis. We're getting into the nitty gritty now. Let's call it the nitty gritty of, mine planning, grade control procedures, stockpiling, low grade, medium grade, high grade, blending. As I say, some of the screens, rerouting material, you know, and making sure we get the best use of every item of plant that we've got there. And it is a sophisticated plant, very sophisticated in that part of the world. And our partners should be very proud of it. And as partners to our partners, we're very proud of it. So they've done a good job. So in essence, Fairbride is up and running and producing. When we get to the hard rock, of course, that's when when we're producing more and more. Gold price slipped off a bit, but it's still a very, very good price, as we all know. One goes back again in history, it's still a very good price. And there's enough geopolitical tension and financial tension in the world for that to be a moving feast backwards and forwards as well. So yes, thank God, Fairbride's going. I think we're about 6 weeks into it. Time flies, so maybe even 2 months. But yes, we're pouring gold every 12 days, a couple of bars, around about between 8 and 12 kilos. So, look, you know, and building up. But we've got to move the alluvials and the weathered material to get at the ore body. And as I say, we're doing all that nitty gritty stuff now. What makes a project into a mine, and the disciplines and that one has to employ in a day-to-day mine is quite different from a project. You know, it's very, very bogs. You know, you really have got to set a protocol for grade control, and every operation is unique, and that's what we're in the middle of doing. Our own alluvials are going good. We last month was particularly good. So again, we're generating income from there. So apart from the imminent rains, we've learned how to manage them as well. We've learned how to manage them, especially in the alluvials, as we've got along in lifetime. So very pleased with what's happening in Mozambique. So when you look at us, a pretty rounded company, moving towards a conceptual, it's nearer a scoping study now for racecourse. Loads of big targets identified, as you use the word, sitting on a world-class ore body, deciding to work a portion of it, and a new gold mine which come into production. We've got a 23% share, which has got a targeted production rate of between 80 and 100 kilograms a month. And our own alluvials, they're going to last another 6 months to a year. So not a bad place to be. Except, of course, it's very, very difficult to excite anyone. Kevin, Phil, it's really difficult to excite anyone about future prospects when today is so. I guess we're all a little bit fatigued, but I'm confident we'll come out of this, and we'll come out of it in October, November. The markets will, and they'll be like I often say, being the old man I am, that you know, when you start talking about 5% to me, interest rates, I don't really get very worried. When I can remember a period not that long ago when people were just sticking their keys to the house, to the bank or the building society box, because they were looking down the face of 15 to 17%. That's what I call.
Handing the houses back to the banks, weren't they?
Giving them back, absolutely giving them back, zero negative equity, and but it was basically a terrible time. So history has said that you've actually sometimes got to step back and look at all this. That the cost of money has been so cheap. The cost of money for these last few years that the bubble had to burst. And if anybody believes the PE ratio in some of the American companies of 57 to 1 makes sense, it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
So if a correction wasn't long overdue, a correction is long overdue. The only thing what I can't see, is the disconnect. We've never tracked the majors, but they're enjoying not too bad times. Thank you very much. Obviously, they're slipping off with the copper price. But you look at the nickel price, it's up at 23, 24 again. Look at zinc, it's over 3,000. Look at tin. The Chinese cannot hold these prices down. They just can't do it, these metal prices. But, put all that to one side. I think that our market, needs to see the copper price going up so that Xtract and companies I'm involved in particular, and of course all of the AIM market who is involved in copper and other markets as well, they will see that the explorers and developers are a call option to copper. And at the moment, when I step back and think, well, why is there no recognition for our company? I put it down to that not everyone is convinced of the EV story. I find it ludicrous. You can't, how on earth can you not be convinced when you just sit there watching telly at night and you can't get by without 3 adverts for the new electric car? Some of them looking quite spiffy, very spiffy, very, BMW, Volkswagen, some lovely cars, and the Japanese. So
they haven't all spent billions to stop the process, have they? So it's going to happen.
Well, that's right. And
I think the reality of the situation is that, as you say, China has been trying to manipulate the market for its own benefit. It's only can do this for so long because the real economics of the situation will come to pass. And then the reality is the small cap miners have been absolutely battered. And the reality of the situation right now is that they've all been progressing their assets, and those assets are worth considerably more than the market caps that they represent across the board. This is not just about Xtract or any other company. They are all severely undervalued. This is normal, though. This is what happens in the small cap market, that everything gets severely undervalued, and then it will play catch up very quickly. So do you want to be out or do you want to be in? Because if you're in, it's going to play catch up very quickly.
Yeah, let's face it, you're absolutely right. There was quite a lot of money raised the first half of, not this year, last year, the year before. And that money is advanced projects in a lot of companies well along the way. And the market, when it does come out of this, will be benefiting from quite a few companies with projects which have gone the extra mile. We've got a number of projects which are advancing and have advanced. And criticize me or not, but I've taken a very robust action that, and it's always been my message to people I work with in our team and our management team: don't keep harping on about share price. Don't keep harping on about a terrible world. Just the things that we can control. Get stuck into them. Yeah. For sure. Because what's that Yorkshire saying? It's always darkest before dawn.
Yeah.
Boy, never a truer expression. Never a truer expression.
It sounds to me like you working all guns blazing on this project and on the projects. You've delivered the gold pours. The studies are done. There's been some excellent results, and you're just keeping on working and plugging away and gonna with the mindset to deliver ultimately shareholder value, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I must say to our partners in Manica, that we've spent the last couple of years, them on one side of the fence, I guess, and us on the other, looking over the fence to see how they're doing. but we're in it. We're in it together now. We're producing them. We're side by side, sleeves rolled up, putting in all the protocols because they're very enthusiastic young team, very very capable team. Our partners are, and we've got quite a bit of experience in our team at mining, grade control, and plant operations. So we're side by side. We're on the same course because I get 23. Xtract gets 23% of everything they achieve. That we don't win without them, and then they don't win without us. So it's early days, but I'm delighted with the partnership and the way it's working. I'm delighted with the quality of work that they produced. It is very, very high standard, and the enthusiasm of the team and of their team takes some reckoning with. They're very, very good youngsters, and they're doing a great job.
Perfect. Well,
so I'm looking forward to Fairbride throwing out the results. I really am. Good results.
Well done, Colin. Keep plugging away. And once again, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, you. Thank you, gents. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net